We're on page 10 at the bottom of the page. I'd like to keep eating, it's okay. We don't have a name. So, we are learning about the intimate road and the common road. And we spoke of it, there's not much of a variation of levels inside of the common road. Yes. It's okay, you can just listen. In the common road, keeping Shabbat, keeping kosher, putting on tefillin, you can't have a person that puts on tefillin better than the other one. Obviously, unless he puts on tefillin every day and the other one doesn't. So there was a guy who came to the rabbi. He said, Rabbi, I really want to start putting on tefillin, but I have a very big problem that in my life, when I commit to doing something all the time, I generally don't follow through with it. So I need a break. I need some time that I don't have to put on tefillin. Rabbi said, you know what, just for you, I'll let you not put on tefillin for Shabbat.
That's good.
So you have to, unless someone says, I put on tefillin once a week, and you put on tefillin 6 days a week, so obviously the one who puts on tefillin 6 days a week will be observing the mitzvot of tefillin much more than the one who puts it on once a week. But now we're talking about the intimate road. V'asher lederech hayachid. Regarding the intimate road. It has many ranges inside of it. And there are varying levels of observance of the intimate road, just like there are differences between the east and the west. In general, when you say between east and west in rabbinic literature, it means infinite. It means there is endless possibility for variation inside of the intimate road. V'dargot ha'olchim ba'rabotin, and those who follow it are in many distinct levels. Afilu b'dvar mitzvah echad, v'afilu v'fa'am yichida, even if they're doing the same thing at the same time, you can have 3 people, 5 people, 10 people that will be doing the same intimate road, but differently. Mashal, for example, Lishlosha michasidei Israel, on page 12, 3 of the righteous men of Israel, Sheshamu Shabbat Echad, and they all kept one Shabbat, the same Shabbat. Now, when you say the word Chasid, it's a misnomer that Chasid refers to somebody with a fuzzy hat. Chasid, absolutely. Chasid is the loftier level that a human being can reach on this earth, perhaps before the level of a prophet. A Chasid is a truly righteous human being. Somebody who is committed to Hashem, to the Torah, to delving into his own self-being and how he can fix himself and make this world better and reach certain levels of consciousness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. A Chassid, you can't be born a Chassid. It's
you have to earn it?
Yeah, it's something that you work to become, and not even every tzaddik that you know will reach the level of being a Chassid. It's for this reason the Vilna Gaon.
Chassid is higher than tzaddik?
Well, some would say they're synonymous, but Chassid is like above. It's above any level that we have, truly. And a Chassid, for example, you'll call the Vilna Gaon, you'll see on his tombstone, they call him Harav HaChasid. But he was definitely not a Chassid. The Vilna Gaon was the opponent of the Chasidim. But he referred to as Harav HaChasid because of his stature. Rabbi Yehuda Chassid, also. Now that was also because of an affiliation. There were 3 Chassidic movements in our history, you know that. The first Chassidic movement in the times of the Talmud, very good. HaChasidim HaRishonim, they're called. The early Chasidim. These were those who would meditate for an hour before Tefillah and an hour after Tefillah. Our Rebbe said that if they did that, then when do they have time to study? How do they become a Chassid? Do the math, 3. That means that 9 hours out of their day they're just praying. So when do they have time to? They also worked. When they have time to sleep and to learn. So the Talmud says before they became Chasidim, they already studied everything. It's a very lofty level. There was a second group of Chasidim that broke out in Europe, in the early German community, medieval times, called Chasidei Ashkenaz, the righteous men of Ashkenaz. You'll see them referred to very often in halachic literature. They were the inventors of this idea of let's try to make all the opinions happy. Rav Soloveitchik writes about them slightly. They were, for example, the mezuzah, some say it should be horizontal, some say it should be vertical, so they said, we'll put it in the middle. They were Shabbat. One rabbi says you can't do this. One rabbi says you can't do that. We won't do either of them. Chassidic Ashkenaz were extremely pious people and extremely rigid in their observance of Torah mitzvot. Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid, the Churva synagogue in Jerusalem they just rebuilt, that was his synagogue. He was from this movement of Chassidim. And then you had a third movement of Chassidim, and those were the Chassidei HaBaal Shem Tov. And that's what we refer to today on the street when you say Chassidic. You're referring to those Chassidim, but they're like the third people to recycle that term. And so it's funny that became synonymous with Chassid. Who right. The Rambam's son is referring to here is the Chassid in the classic sense of a truly righteous individual through and through.
He was long before he
Very good, right. Harishon, I was just having a discussion with my wife. She's developing this course on Chassidut. Right. And many of the Chassidic books keep pointing. So it's Phyllis Bat Valerie. That would be the name. Okay. So she was discussing, and she was showing all these Chassidic texts, and essentially trying to say that the entire Chassidic movement is the bringing to action the philosophy of Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto. And I didn't actually know until then that so many Chassidic Rebbes found their original philosophy in the writings of the Ramchal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto. With the exception of Chabad, that for some strange reason they don't really study his works.
No, I've never seen Derech Hashem.
Though I don't know why, every time I've brought up the Ramchal with the Chabadnik, I get some kind of negative feedback, and I don't know if it's true, because from what I remember reading is that the Lubavitch Rebbe did study such works, but I don't know. Okay. Yeah. So, but it seems like the other Hasidim are very connected to this idea of Ramchal.
The first book they tell you to study is
very good.
And then on with the other.
So my wife said, see, we have a source, it's the Ramchal.
Was he the one with the beard?
Yes. Very good. So what was the source of that? The Ramchal didn't have a beard. He was a Kabbalist without a beard. And by the way, you should know, this whole idea of having a beard, on Shabbat, just Friday night, I was going through my books and I came across a letter from the Khatam Sofer. And the Khatam Sofer says the reason why some Mekubalim outside of Israel did not have beards is because that which the Arizal said, that in order to reach the secrets of Kabbalah and to have holiness on your face, you need to have a beard. Some opinions say that only applies in the land of Israel, but not outside of the land of Israel. Because outside of the land of Israel, a person is limited in their ability to reach the levels of prophecy in the first place. And it was an interesting idea that it could be that's who the Ramchal was relying on, that idea. Regardless, it doesn't make a difference. It just means that a beard is not so important in developing a person's spirituality.
How could they remove their beard in those days before electric?
Scissors, or they had certain kinds of chemicals. They used powders, things like that.
They didn't have advertised like TV commercials showing like a close shave and having some some woman going like, "Oh, that's so close."
By the way, shave could also be just a very short beard. And we don't know exactly what the idea of shave. But you'll see many Sephardic rabbis of the old country had such beards. Rabbi Menashe ben Israel, who was painted by Rembrandt, also had such a beard.
Short, like
a goatee almost.
Oh, okay.
On the sides, he didn't have. Right. Rosh Soloveitchik also had such a beard. Okay. People get stuck on the details. Yeah. Why was I telling all this? The Ramchal. So my wife said, see, we have a source. I said, the Ramchal is one of us. He is the Sephardic rabbi of all the Musar. So if anyone is like the Ramchal, it's going to be us. And I said, it's one of those arguments, whose mother is better. So I decided to leave it be. But a Chassid is a truly righteous person. Let's hear with the first Chassid. We'll do the next 2 days. We'll do the 3 Chassidim. This is the first Chassid's experience of Shabbat. So it's 3 people, all righteous, keeping Shabbat in different ways. Harishon, the first one, Hosif al derech haklalit. He added to the common road. What is the common road? How do you keep Shabbat on the common road? What's the basic way to keep Shabbat?
Well, you do
a candle.
Okay, so you observe the positive parts of Shabbat, and you stay away from the things you're not allowed to do in Shabbat. Right? That's what you're all saying. Derech miyuchedet. He added a unique journey. How did he do that? Bechoshvo al tachlit Shabbat. He thought about the purpose of Shabbat, the goal of Shabbat. Uvitboneno al briyat haolam. And he meditated on the creation of the world. Shabbat is connected to the creation of the world. It's why a rabbi is considered somebody who violated Shabbat to be such a severe thing, because essentially Shabbat is connected to the Emunah in Hashem. Hitbonut Klalit Uvizacho ki HaShamayim va'aretz v'chol tzeva'am nivru b'shesh yamim. He remembers that everything that he sees in the world was created in 6 days. V'lo haya sham kol kadmon rishon. There was nothing before at all. Shen reshit reshito, because there's nothing before Hashem. Zulat haborei yitale v'yitgadel asher natan lanu et Shabbat. Asayet lam HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who gave us the Shabbat. This idea, it's called liyached Shem Hashem, to focus yourself on Hashem, on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So he turned Shabbat into Hashem is the creator. Hashem created the world. I am resting like Hashem rested. I'm staying away from the world because Hashem promised me that this world will be okay if I stay away from it for one day. He thinks about Shabbat in that light. The next two Hasidim are also going to add on to the common road. Again, this is not, I keep Shabbat because I don't heat up food on Shabbat. It's not what makes you keep Shabbat more. There's a certain state of being that a person enters into Shabbat. And tomorrow, B'ezrat Hashem, we'll see the other 2 levels that a person will reach in Shmirat Shabbat. And he'll show you that there are 3 ways that are all valid to be considered the intimate road, but they're not synonymous with each other, because the intimate road is just that. It's an intimate relationship that you have with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And just like no 2 people here have the same relationship with their wives, that's normal, because you each have different wives and you have different relationships and different feelings, and that's a normal thing. It's intimate. Intimate means unique to you. And there is such a relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu as well. The mistake that we make perhaps in this world is that we try to have an intimate path with Hashem, meaning a personal, tailor-fit approach to Hashem, while neglecting the common road. Like, I won't do kosher because I don't connect to that. That wasn't a choice. Everyone has to. It's like being married. You have to live in the same house. It's part of in order to be considered a normal, healthy couple, you have to live in the same house. Now, intimate would be, okay, so how do you talk to each other when you live in the same house? And do you eat dinner together during the week, or only on Shabbat, or do you buy flowers? Whatever would be on the intimate road. The same thing with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. There's a common road that must be observed first. And in today's world, we find a lot of people pretending that they have a personal relationship with Hashem, and by that they've granted themselves freebies on everything under the sun, when essentially they're neglecting the common road and confusing themselves with what is an intimate road with HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
One thing in our way is that we don't have an idea that someone who's holier has a free pass on anything.
Very good. This is very important. What Jeb just brought up. Now in Israel we've been suffering from tremendous, I don't know if scandal is a good word. I don't know if it's enough of a word. There was a rabbi in Tzfat who was a Rosh Yeshiva. It turns out that while he was the Rosh Yeshiva, he actually became like a Kabbalist. People were going to him for blessings and Ruach HaKodesh and who knows what. And he had 12 other relationships with women aside from his wife while he was this Kabbalist. 12. That's a good number, maybe. It's 12 tribes, 12 levels of Gehenom. I don't know what.
12 gates to prayer.
So do they have a Beit Din for people like this?
So very interesting is that this man seemed to have been close to Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu, and he was very good friends with Rabbi Shmuel Eliyahu, who was the chief rabbi of Tzfat. And Rabbi Shmuel Eliyahu was the one who blew the whistle on him. He went against every feeling that he had in his body and said this is wrong. We have numerous reports. We had to act. They summoned him in. He confessed to what he did. Seems like his wife was even aware of some of the things he did, but he had told his wife that he's doing certain things because according to Kabbalah, he has to save their souls, and who knows what he told them. And this is where Zev's point comes in. You must know that no matter how righteous a person will be in the Jewish faith, he doesn't have a free pass not to observe Shabbat, or not to pray, or not to keep kosher, or to touch a lady, or to even to shake her hand. There is no, so you reach a certain level, so he doesn't have to do certain things, or he can take a pass on certain things. Actually, the other way is true. The higher up the ladder someone goes, the less they're allowed to do. Moshe Rabbeinu was punished for something that we would not have been punished for. So he hit the rock. It's a big deal, he hit a rock. What do you care? Moshe Rabbeinu hit a rock. Moshe Rabbeinu was on that level. The fact that the community, the Jewish public, is not educated that a rabbi cannot touch you. I don't know how, it's a silly thing that I have to say that. But a rabbi is not allowed to touch a lady, not allowed to be in the same room with a lady. And when he does such a thing, there cannot be anything holy about it. And it's not the first case this year. There's another rabbi in Israel who also got in trouble this year. He was sleeping with all kinds of ladies and telling them that's how he's going to fix their soul, because they need a certain thing, they need a connection to his soul in order to be saved. And I don't know which is crazier, the fact that you have a man who's called a rabbi who does such things, or the fact that you have people who go along with it because they think that such a thing exists within Judaism.
Especially when young women, it's a naivete.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm not even just sure that it's naivete. I want to say that it's more malicious than that. And there's a maliciousness, and I'm not, God forbid, singling out any person or group or a movement. But this notion that a tzaddik, this righteous man, he could pray at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, shacharit, and he can wear 7 pairs of tefillin, and he can have 900 pairs of tzitziot, and he can keep Shabbat until Wednesday, and start Shabbat after sunset. This idea that he's above time and above reality.
And yet I keep hearing this. Oh, he's the Rebbe. How can you say anything?
So this has given birth, but this has given birth to these problems.
Yeah, this is like a 60s mentality, because back, I remember in the day, all the gurus were doing exactly the same thing, and the girls were swooning over these guys. And it's an old thing. If somehow it permeated into the Jewish world.
But it's a terrible thing that it's permeated to the Jewish. It's not even.
I had a teacher in Los Angeles who had gotten the same problem and, devastated a whole family and marriage and kids and everything.
Every person, there is a Yetzer Hara. Everybody has a Yetzer Hara. It's understandable that a person has a Yetzer Hara. For me, a rabbi that fell. He said he did a Yetzer Hara, he gave it to the Yetzer Hara. And he confessed as such, and he came in front of a Bedin, and whatever he had to do, is different for me than a person. Not in a good or bad way, but different than a person who manipulates his authority as a rabbi, or his level of holiness, and says that in the name of Judaism or in the name of the Torah, this is not an Averah, I'm doing something to fix the universe, or to fix your soul, or to heal the world, or what.
It's like a false prophet.
Exactly, it's a terrible thing.
It's called under color of authority.
Really?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
And it says you should kill somebody like that.
So this, I'm not putting any death sentence in
I know,
anybody's head.
but
What I'm saying is,
tells you that there's a new way to.
Today they have rebbes, rabbis, babas. I don't know what they're called. They steal. They're money launderers, and they've been. It's an absurd thing that you have rabbis today that have FBI cases open on them.
Yep.
And maybe that's not true. Maybe it's all out. They've been framed, but where there's smoke, there's fire. And they had enough big rabbis in the world. You know how much money went through Chabad when the Lubavitcher Rebbe was a rabbi?
Yeah.
But never $1 was ever accused. The Lubavitcher Rebbe, he siphoned it into his own personal account. It's a crazy thing that today, the Rebbe in Los Angeles sitting in prison. And people go to him to get brachas. My friend, he's sitting in. I don't know how to say it clearer to you than this.
They're going to get brachas in his English.
This is.
By the way, did you know who does that blog that you sent me a link for yesterday?
I don't know. I was looking for it.
They're not telling names.
They're probably afraid.
Good reason.
Hashem Yishmor. It's when I came to Israel, people were, come to this rabbi, come to this tzaddik, come to this.
Yeah, the Sagula business.
I went to Harapel, said, Rabbi, how do you know who's real and who's not? To know, you can't know. But how do you know who's a fake? I said, anybody who deals with money. So the moment to go see a rabbi, you have to put money on the table. So you know he's a fake. There is no such thing as a real rabbi who takes money from people for doing his job. I was close enough to the Kalev Rebbe, to Arav Peretz, to rabbis who never in their life took money from another person for what they did. Someone told me now to go to a certain Rebbe for Shabbat, you have to pay $5,000 ahead of time. Why would I spend Shabbat with you when I can go to the Kotel?
Yeah.
With all due respect, it's free. Why would I go with you? I can go to Hebron and spend Shabbat with Avraham Avinu and Yitzchak and Yaakov. Why do I have to pay for you? Some things are beyond my understanding.
Five grander. The Bostoner, the Culver.
But I think this goes hand in hand. Another thing that drives me nuts is a lot of the midrashic Hasidic tales and all this mysticism and all this other stuff for people who don't even know plain halacha.
The system of Kabbalah has been abused and broken and abused and broken to a very scary place. Which is not, I'm not here talking about movements that you might associate with Kabbalah, but the fact that a Mikubal is, you're not even supposed to know that he is a Mikubal, let alone to learn from him Kabbalah, let alone to hear stories about Kabbalah from him. It's not the way this tradition works. It just doesn't work that way. And the moment people start using that to tell me all kinds of things, I don't know what you want me to do with this. Some tzaddikim, I just say, he was a tzaddik. I have a question mark. The famous story about the Baal Shem Tov in Karlin, that he came to Karlin and he prayed mincha at midnight. So I have two ways to understand this story. I could either tell you that all the Hasidim are lying to me, because I can never believe the Baal Shem Tov would pray mincha at midnight. Or I can tell you the Baal Shem Tov prayed mincha at midnight, and I have no way to understand him. But it's not my job to judge him. Hashem will figure it out. I only have two options. Now, I'll tell you, Hasidim will get mad when I say something. How dare you blaspheme? Listen, the Baal Shem Tov also had to follow Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. He also had to follow Moshe Rabbeinu. He also had to listen to Hillel and Shammai. He didn't have... there is one book. I saw one Hasidic book. I had an uncle of my wife, who when I published the Shalom, he wrote me a
love letter.
A love letter. That's a nice term for it. And essentially it said, how could he be so blasphemous? There was a Hasidic custom that I touched on lightly.
Oh.
I didn't even if I would have delved into it, Hashem Yishmael, what happened to this custom? The custom is that religious Jews should not eat at each other's house on Pesach. Because on Pesach, we don't trust anybody's kashrut. Okay, now this is actually a very acceptable practice in Orthodox communities, and in Hasidic communities it even has a name. It's called not meshing. Meshing is to mix. Like to mesh things together. I didn't even know. When I wrote it, I didn't even know it was a custom. I just wrote that it's a silly thing that people don't eat at each other's house on Pesach. And I got a letter. And brought me stories from this Rebbe who didn't eat at this person's house, and this Rebbe didn't. It turns stories about Rebbes who wouldn't eat at other Rebbes' houses. But it was normal. Like, it's become a thing that, God forbid that you should eat from my house on Pesach. I don't want you to do that avera of eating from my food on Pesach. That's how it's become, like a very noble thing. There's a story, so he sent me from one Rebbe that one of his students made him liquor or something for the holiday. And he brought it to him on the first day of Pesach. And the Rebbe kept it on the table until the 8th day of Pesach. Hasidim invented this concept of 8th day of Pesach being less strict than the first 7 days. I don't know where it comes from. And then he only drank it on the 8th day. And he said, because this is our custom. And then someone tried to go so far as to tell me that this is why the Moroccans have a memuna on the end of Pesach. Is because we don't eat from each other the whole 8 days of Pesach. And only after Pesach comes, then we go and party at each other's house because we want to show that we didn't hate you for 8 days, we just didn't trust your kashrut for 8 days. But now it's okay. And for me, this idea, the Rambam writes, just this morning I was quoting this Rambam. The Rambam writes in the laws of kashrut that if in b'chol zman or b'chol et, in any place, in any time, if a Jew who's a Yirei Shamayim, who's a fear in heaven, what is the definition of Yirei Shamayim? I don't know, but I assume that all these Hasidic rabbis fall into the category of Yirei Shamayim. Puts in front of you fish, or meat, or cheese, obviously not at the same time. You must eat it, without asking questions. Because the basic assumption in Judaism is if another person is a Yirei Shamayim. He prays, he goes to Beit Knesset, he keeps Shabbat, he speaks like a Jew, I don't know, whatever he does, that's proper. Why would I sit at a person's house and suspect them of serving me something not kosher? It's a flaw in my programming, in my head. If I can imagine, someone's going to invite me to their house and they're going to feed me something not kosher. That's crazy. It's a crazy thing. To the fact that today in America, it's a normal thing that a rabbi will never eat at your house. And you probably know that. A rabbi won't eat at your house. I'm happy to say that I will eat at everybody's house in this room. Everybody.
Well, they won't even let your kids eat an apple at your house. You know?
Are you speaking from experience?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I went to visit someone not so long, about a year ago. And I went to his house, and he served me a plate of fruits. I guess he knows rabbis are like birds. They only eat fruits. So he brought me out a plate of fruits, and then he brought me a paper plate and a plastic knife. I thought, how do you expect me to cut this fruit with the plastic knife? So what do you mean? I said, okay, a real knife. He said, well, I don't know if you trust my kosher. I said, do you keep kosher? I said, yes. So what do you mean? He said, there's a certain rabbi, he comes to collect money from me every week. Every week. He said, and this rabbi comes to my house, and he takes the orange, because it has a peel, off the plate. He puts it on his palm, not on the plate that I brought him. And he peels it on his palm, and eats it from his palm because he don't let the orange touch the plate. Because my plate's not kosher.
His dollars shouldn't touch his wallet.
I said, it's pretty talented rabbi, by the way, just to keep everything here on the palm. But first of all, ignoramus doesn't know that a cold plate and a cold orange, even if they had pig on this plate, they wouldn't. But it's a person who he wears a kippah and he keeps his tongue. But why would you come to another person's house and to do that? And I told the man, I said, my question though is not on the rabbi. My question's on you. You give him money every week. You are supporting this culture of. I could not believe it. But this is an absurd thing. So why did I tell you this? My uncle, he wrote me this letter. My wife's uncle. I wrote back to him. I said, all of these rabbis you quoted to me, with all due respect to them, have an obligation to listen to the Rambam. Because none of them are greater than the Rambam. He said, and when the Rambam puts this into halakha, there is no custom in the world that is going to come to me today and tell me I should program into my religion that I'm not going to trust another person. Imagine in Borough Park, they're not trusting each other, eat each other's food. Do you know how much kosher they keep in Borough Park? I was there. Food has like 6 extras on the food. Yeah. It's kosher in every opinion under the sun. It's kosher. My brothers and sisters-in-law, they come together for a meal. They don't all eat the same hechsher. This one eats this one, this one eats that one. Here I'm the avarian, the criminal. I eat from all the hechsherim. My friend is without the hechsherim. The natural thing, you're all part of the same family. You're all going to your father-in-law's house. Eat his food. Your religiosity cannot put you in such a place where you wear a strammel, he wears a strammel, this one wears a strammel. None of you keep kosher. Of course, you all agree they keep kosher. They do agree that the other one keeps kosher, just not for me. What does it mean, not for me? Trust each other. Am Yisrael says trust each other a little bit. The Arabs now in Israel, they're looking at us. Why they can kill us so easily? They look at us and say, look how much we hate each other. Look how much we don't eat this one's food. I don't go to that one's. I don't touch this one. I don't speak to this one. We're easy game. We're fair game. The moment Am Yisrael would be together a little bit, I'm just going to eat at everybody's house. I'm going to let everybody come to my shul on Shabbat. All of a sudden, what you'd see, they would run to the mountains, because against us together, nobody can survive. Something to think about. So all these stories, all of these tzaddikim, I cannot tell you they were wrong. All I can tell you, we have an obligation to listen to people who are greater than them. And they would also agree that the Rambam and Shulchan Aruch are greater than them. And in the same letter I quoted to my uncle, there's a Hasidic book I have in my house. And this Hasidic rabbi writes, and when you hear stories of Hasidic rabbis doing things that are apparently against halakha, it says, such as praying after the normal time to pray. He says, God forbid that they intended for you to do the same thing. He said, rather they had some kind of calculations, they knew what was going on in heaven, whatever they knew, they did it. But they expected you to follow the same basic halakha that every other Jew has to keep. And it's not true, by the way, that Hasidim pray after time. Now, the first Lubavitcher Rebbe was very into praying very early in the morning. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov only let his Hasidim pray with sunrise. The Stolner Rebbe in Givat Zev, after 6:30 a.m., you cannot pray Shachrit anymore in their community. That's when the minyan starts. That's it. There is nothing like that. There's very few Hasidic groups that have taken it to a different direction. So it's not Hasidim. They're not wrong here. It's a few people, and they were greater than us. So I leave them be where they want to be. But we have a different path to